Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're all doing good and well. So, it's time for a new episode of Dark Horse Discs, the series where we talk about albums that tend to be underappreciated in bands' discographies. And this week, we are tackling Korn's sixth studio album, Take a Look in the Mirror. Okay, released back in November of 2003. And of course, we'll do the usual format here. For those of you unfamiliar with what we do, we have three rounds of discussion. First round, we talk about our initial impressions of the album when we first listened to it. Then we do talk about our three favorite tracks from the album. And then in the last round, we talk about where we'd rank the album in the band's discography and say why we think the album might be considered a dark horse. And for this fourth episode, we are joined by a new guest. You might notice there is a new, maybe less familiar face on this channel, but some of you might recognize him from Is It That Bad? He is also a musician from O Mentor. We've got Brady Fugel joining us today as our extra special fourth guest. So we've got Rocco joining us today, Rock for All Ages.
Word up.
We've got JC Rock and Metal Reviews, Children on a Couch, and of course Brady for this episode. Cool. All right, well let's kick off, and we are actually kicking off this one with Brady, with your first impressions of Take a Look in the Mirror.
All right, yeah. So my first impressions of this album. This was so as far as Korn's discography, I like their music, but they're not a band that I've fully explored all the way through. So I will admit this was an album that I had previously skipped over. Obviously, I knew like Y'all Want a Single, that was the big hit from this album. But I never really dove into this album track by track. So it was I like the opportunity to get fully into it. It was nice, and it did sound like Korn on my first impression. I mean, Korn's a very recognizable band with a very recognizable sound. The one thing that stuck out to me on my first listen was that a lot of these songs feel like they take on more of qualities, I guess up and down dynamics would be a good way of putting it, where there's a lot, as opposed to kind of having a good amount of heavy and or a good amount of kind of everything in the middle. There's a lot of songs that have very melodic moments and then really, really heavy moments, screamed moments, which is something that Korn obviously does, but not like in every song. So there was several tracks on here that had a lot of those qualities as well as just some catchy riffing, a lot of the Korn staples. So yeah, to me it sounded like Korn in a good way. So yeah, that was my first impression.
Okay, cool. Let's go to JC next on my screen.
So yeah, I've been a Korn fan since the beginning. I used to buy every album when they came out. So I bought the debut, and I think this was the last album that I bought before I kind of lost track of them for a few years. I've always liked it. I like the singles. I think it's at the time I thought it was just as good as maybe Untouchables or even some of the other ones. So I've always thought it was a really good album. I think going back to it after not hearing it for a while, I did notice some things, such as there's a little bit of rap on it, which I'll address maybe later on, and there's a lot of like heaviness. I feel that there are parts that get like really heavier than they might not have been on some of the previous albums. So they do have those moments, and I think it's the type of album that might have been judged by the singles, and but that's something I'll talk about, later and maybe in the last round. But it's something I've always liked. Like I bought this CD when it came out, so it's one I've always liked. I think it's a really good album. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, JC. Rocco.
I made a brief mention of this album in the Anthrax episode when I was listing metal albums from 2003 that got mixed to negative reviews. The band members themselves, specifically Brian Welch and Jonathan Davis, called Take a Look in the Mirror their worst album.
Hmm.
Part of that was because Brian had a really bad drug addiction at the time, and another factor was that they played at Ozfest that year, so they had to rush this album out with what little time they had left. Jonathan said at the time that what he felt the music industry needed in 2003 was a back to basics new metal album. And considering that results may vary by Limp Bizkit came out just 2 months earlier,
I wonder if Take a Look in the Mirror was a case of right place, wrong time.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I sometimes I think I see what you mean. Yeah, there's a bit of an element of that. Yeah, with this one. Hector,
Well,
you
I
finished? Sorry, Rocco, had you finished?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Rocco should,
Jumping around.
he should say, "Okay, I'm finished now."
Mhm.
So for me, when Rocco said something about Korn thinking that this was a bad album, they clearly had not put all the shit that would come after this.
True.
Because believe me, after this album, it really went like, "Ooh, there's a lot of crap after this. There's some good stuff, but to me, this album, I loved it when it came out. I thought it was more raw. And like JC said, also a lot of people, the singles are not the best thing on this album has a lot of like deep cuts, so that's something I'll say back. And for now, I'm gonna get back to my chopper and have some coffee.
Mm, yeah. I think I'd echo a lot of what you guys said. My first impression of this one was just that it was really loud and heavy. In a way, I see it a little bit as like an extension of Untouchables from the previous year. Untouchables was also a pretty loud and heavy album, not quite as maybe consistently heavy all the way through as I think this one is. Just every song is a little bit formulaic as well, I think this album, but in a good way, for me. So that was always kind of my first impression, I think, with this one. And I remember when the same friend I've talked about in previous episodes, I remember him buying this album and playing it back when we went back to play on the PlayStation back in 2003. After he bought the record, so yeah, it's a pretty positive first impression that I had when I first checked this out. So we move on to round two. Now I've got to remember the order, but I think it's easy because I just followed it kind of anti-clockwise on
I
my
believe it
screen.
was Brady, JC,
Brady's
me, and
next.
Hector.
So your three favorite tracks, Brady.
All right, my three favorite tracks. I will admit it was kind of difficult coming up with three specific tracks because a lot of these tracks, kind of like you just said, Tom, do follow a kind of a similar formula, not in a bad way. But the three tracks that I did end up picking was firstly Break Some Off, because I think it has kind of like this cool ascending main riff that kind of climbs. I like how that main riff sounds. It's got the up and down dynamics that I like I mentioned earlier, just between those calmer verses and that screaming chorus. Did My Time is my second highlight. Again, it's got a good main riff. The song overall builds a good amount of tension, which is something I usually enjoy, especially in Korn's music. I think they do that pretty well. It's got a really infectious bounce in the verses. And then Everything I've Known, the following track, is my third highlight. It's got this mix of almost like a doominess that I like and appreciate, and it's also again really catchy later in the song. So yeah, I could have picked several tracks honestly for my top three, but those are mine. Those are my top three songs. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like they're great at doing intros as
Mm,
well.
yeah, yeah. They set the mood well. They set the mood well.
Yeah, yeah. JC.
Okay, I'll pick three, and I'm going to pick the ones that aren't singles. I think that this album has better deep cuts. My first one, "Counting on Me," track number three. It's a little darker. Jonathan Davis, really great vocals. Like he has those very painful vocals, and the song has some melodic moments. I like that, but also has some very heavier with Jonathan Davis doing something that's almost like death metal growls. I like that. The guitar riff at the end is really great, and I think it probably could have been a single. It's a really great song. My next pick is track nine, "Alive." It's a very dark song, has that heavy bass, it's catchy, and could have been a single. Again, the second chorus has the dark and heavy vocals. And I like the interlude. Jonathan Davis does those very like I'll call them the painful vocals, and he does have some of those heavier vocals. So that's another good song. And maybe one of my favorites, track 10, "Let's Do This Now." It sounds like classic Korn. It has the bagpipes, and it just reminded me of something from their earlier albums. It just had that classic sound. It had the melodic vocals and some of the heavier stuff. So that is another one. I think it just gets overlooked. This is, in general, this is a very like long album. There's 14 tracks if you even count the hidden track of cover of the Metallica cover. So I think like the deep cuts are probably better than some of the singles. So those are my three.
Cool. Yeah, nice picks there, the deep cuts on the album. Rocco.
My third favorite is I'm Done. We were talking about how the album uses the loud, quiet dynamics that Pixies and Nirvana popularized. I do like how the song makes use of the quieter segments.
Mm.
And then my second favorite might be controversial. I picked Y'all Want a Single. It's a goofy tongue-in-cheek song, but I have to imagine it goes hard as hell live. And I kind of want to hear it on the radio just to know what the clean version sounds like. Y'all Want a Single, say that. Like half the song is just fuck.
Mm.
You can say, I mean, I don't often swear, but you can swear if you want. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
Your
we're
accent's
past the
big.
2 minute mark. It's fine.
Yeah.
Uh, and and then my favorite track on the album is Here It Comes Again. Structurally, the song is very simple. It's just verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. But it has probably the best chorus on the album. I'm shocked it wasn't a single. And those are my three.
Nice.
Nice. So
I, it's funny that Tom says like, "Oh, you can swear." If this was my channel, everyone knows you can fucking swear on my channel and Brady's channel. They're full of swearing. They
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
Can't help but
Brady's from
sometimes.
Chicago, so I believe that.
my channel, like people know I'm gonna swear sometimes, but in a funny way. So for me, I pick actually two songs that JC picked. So yeah, me and JC like almost had the same taste in that.
Yeah.
So I picked Counting on Me because, like JC said, that song should have been a single. It's catchy, but it's great, and I think it's got one of the best Jonathan Davis vocals on this record. I really love this track, and it's the track that I remember most. You all want a single, say fuck that. It's okay, but come on, compared to other deep cuts on this album, it's like almost isn't that bad territory. So I also picked Alive because I thought at first I thought maybe when I bought the album it was gonna be like "You're still alive," she said. I'm like, no, it's Pearl Jam
Oh,
cover.
like the Pearl Jam song?
Yes.
It could have been the POD song too. I
Oh,
feel so alive.
oh, the baby turned
Yeah.
on, and I said, "Fuck that." But this song "Alive" has one like there's some of the most aggressive Jonathan vocals that I've heard from the first album, like when he goes like, oh, oh, it's almost like a death metal thing. And I had forgotten that song. I'm like, wow, I forgot how hard this song goes. So that's why I picked it. And the third one, I actually picked it because I think they have had some tracks with rappers that have been like praised, and this one, Play Me, featuring Nas, which is one of the most underrated rappers of all time. He
Oh
had
yeah.
he had some great albums in the 90s, and people don't mention him. Oh, they mention Tupac, they mention Notorious B.I.G., but Nas should be higher on that discussion. And I love that he's rhyming on this part. He's like, fuck, trust nobody. I don't give a fuck. I was like in the car, like getting all gangster, listening to that part. And Jonathan Davis, like vocals with Nas, really complement each other, and I think it's a great track, and I think it's one of those deep cuts because on other albums, they have songs with Fred Durst, which which is an atrociously bad good song from a good album.
Yeah.
But they had a song with Ice Cube, and people remember those more. But I think "Play Me" with Nas, great song. So those are my three hits.
Um, I'm sort of a casual Nas fan. My thought from that song was Jonathan Davis got bullied in school and called gay slurs. I wonder how he felt when he heard Nas say, "Too many men act like dykes, hermaphrodites with pens, they not men."
Maybe he was talking about him. I don't know about what's it. I don't know. I think it was a play on words. Yeah, but it's a
Probably.
good
But yeah,
pick.
I like Nas. He
yeah.
he was good on that song.
Yeah, yeah. we might come to that one in a minute. Yeah, so my three picks, I think, have all been chosen somewhere at different times by you guys. So my first one's "Did My Time," which is just, I think it's a great single, and it was used as well in the soundtrack of the Tomb Raider Raid of Life film. And actually, I seem to remember thinking this song was my favorite thing about that film, which doesn't maybe say that much about the
The
film,
movie
but
with
it,
Angelina Jolie, and you
yeah,
picked
yeah,
something else as your favorite part.
yeah.
It's like, look at my tomb raiding skills.
But yeah, I love that song. I really love the intro particularly because it's kind of teases that riff, and when the drums clatter in, it's just awesome. There's like just a great sound, it's really heavy, like just suddenly the track just blows open. I really like the way it does that track. Everything I've known. I think actually Brady chose these two. Did my time. Everything I've known. Really like everything I've known as well. And the thing is, with my three tracks, they're all grouped together. So I find with this album, I tend to really like the middle of the record, particularly. I think there's quite a lot of good stuff in, but I really like the middle of the record. So Play Me, which Hector just picked, featuring Nas. And my favorite tracks, tend not to be the one with rap features in or rappers actually, but I like this one. I think it worked really well on the record, and it's one of the better kind of guest rap spots, that I can think of in a metal album that I've heard recently anyway. So yeah, that was my third pick. So yeah, that's my three favorites: Did My Time, Everything I've Known, and Play Me, featuring Nas. So we'll go round a final time for where we'd rank this in Korn's catalogue. You don't necessarily have to know all the albums with this bit. Yeah, you could just the albums you know. So if you only knew this album, it would be in number one, basically. And why you think it might be underappreciated. Because obviously, some people voted for this in my poll. So obviously, some people think it is indeed a dark horse disc. So Brady, back to you.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, after getting more familiar with this album, I will say like I enjoyed it. One thing this album does really well is I think they just all the songs on here are really, really catchy. And Korn has always had an element of that in their past albums, before this and some after this. But compared to albums that I am familiar with, like obviously Issues and Follow the Leader and their bigger, more well-known albums, this album might do just as good of a job as those records do as the mood setting and just the having the catchy songs. A lot of I will say I do think the album gets a little bit formulaic. So there are some qualities that I really like, and then maybe some that maybe there's some slight drawbacks. So kind of as a result of that, I think this album would sit pretty comfortably in the middle of their discography somewhere. I don't think it's quite as good as their biggest albums, like I just mentioned. But I mean, it's much better than that Untitled record for one.
We did that
And
one. Is it that bad, didn't we? I remember
Yeah,
that
we
one.
did have one
Yeah.
for that.
yeah, and as far as Korn's less favorably looked upon records, I would say it's better than those. So in the middle, I think is a good spot to put it. And as far as why I think it could be a dark horse album or dark horse disc, I think a lot of it might have to do with the timing because the album came out in 2003, which not only is kind of maybe when new metal started to decline a little bit and other genres like the hard rock and alt metal and metalcore started to kind of take over. But Korn had been doing like they had been so consistent since their 1994 debut. They had all the albums that came before this, like were all pretty well favorably looked upon. So this album kind of coming at that time after Korn had been putting out album after album after album that were so consistent, and then the albums that followed this one being less favorably looked upon. I think this album could be looked upon as like the decline for Korn, maybe. Um, so I think a lot of it is just timing. A lot of it is just the placement in their discography, what came before it and what came after it. But I mean, to me, this this album was solid. I think it could stand alongside the first several Korn albums that have followed up. So yeah, that's my final impressions and my final thoughts on the record.
Awesome. Thanks, Brady. JC, your your final thoughts. And
Okay, as far as ranking, I would say it's definitely in the top six, and I would rank their first six albums as the top. Definitely, I would say maybe with either the debut and Issues being either one or two, and then Follow the Leader, Untouchables, and then Take a Look in the Mirror, and then maybe Life is PT after that one. But so I'd say like five or six. As far as why it's a dark horse, I think it's a lot of what Brady said. It's new metal. It has the rap. It has the track with Nas, and it has that "You All Want" single, which is kind of like almost hip hop. And I think new metal was kind of dying because new metal. I think the rap metal was just this trend which only lasted a few years. Like it was at its peak around 1998, 1999, but then by 2003, I think it really wasn't that trendy to put rappers and the metal bands. So I think that could have been a thing. And a lot of people sometimes hear like one or two rap songs and then they just like judge the rest of the album by it. So that could be another thing why it got mixed reviews. But I think yeah, just what everyone else is saying. It's a good album, but it came out at the wrong time. So I think that's probably why the next few albums they started going on a decline because they didn't really know like what to do, I guess. But that's all I'll say for now because it's just I've always liked it. So yeah.
cool, thanks, JC. Rocco?
I don't think I would put this in their top five. But disclosure, I have not heard all of their albums. However, given the circumstances around its creation, it could have turned out a lot worse. And as Hector said, they would make worse.
Yeah.
Worse.
Mm.
Is that it?
Is that it? Do you think it's a dark
Yeah,
horse?
yeah, sorry.
Do you
Like
think
I said, I made short notes.
Short and sweet.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right,
so-
Rocco. We'll move on to Hector then.
Yes, we're moving on to me. Wait a minute, kids. So, okay. So, thank you. It was Ignacio. He
All right.
was saying hi.
Is he a
So,
Korn fan? Have you got him into Korn yet?
no,
Okay.
he's
We need to get on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true that it's we I start lighter, Foo Fighters, Nirvana, lighter stuff. not
Okay, okay.
I'm like, son, listen to this song
Right.
about him being molested. No, no, no.
Yeah, Korn might be like PG-13 rated R music, something like that.
That's true. I mean,
Rating of-
I remember my nephew enjoying Untouchables at 9 years old. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
my dad wasn't very impressed with it when we were playing it in the car too.
I bet. So my final impressions with this, first of all, how I would rank this. So I have a hot take. I think this album is way better than Life is Peachy. I actually think Life is Peachy of their first albums is the weakest Korn album because it comes before their first album, which is amazing, and Follow the Leader, which to this day, Follow the Leader is still my favorite Korn album because maybe that was the album that got me into Korn, and I has that nostalgia part. But I would say my favorite is Follow the Leader. Then I would say the first Korn album. Then I would say Issues, Untouchables. Then Take a Look in the Mirror, and then I would say Life is Peachy. And after this, to me, this is the last great Korn album until they released The Nothing in 2019, which I
Oh
enjoyed.
yeah, that was a good one.
What happened after The Nothing? They gave us the Sausage Fingers record.
I still say I like that album, but Hector did not.
Oh, the Sausage Fingers record was one of my first reviews when I first started the channel, and I called it Korn Light. Korn fans weren't happy with me.
Mm.
But you know what? That album still sucks.
Hector, you didn't like Serenity of Suffering before Nothing? No?
the
The 2016 one?
Serenity
I've always liked that. Yeah.
I like
So
the singles from that one.
it was okay, but I like that. But another one that I thought was lame was Corn Free when they tried to be like, oh no, we're back to basics, but they were trying too hard. But since I think it's time for another. Is it that bad for Corn? And we gotta do the Skrillex album, man.
Yes. Yes.
That has to be done this year. We had to talk about the Skrillex album. The what was the name of that album?
Path of Totality.
Path of
The
Totality,
Path,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
the
one I
Path
haven't
of
listened to.
Totality. Yes, that one. We need to talk about that one. So yes, I think it's a dark horse, and also a very important thing. This was the last album they put out with Brian before he
Mhm.
left,
It's
and
true.
I
And then he came back in 2013, but he
yeah,
was out for a while.
yeah, he came back for an album that I enjoyed a little bit. But yeah, I think this album, you could tell that there was a lot of turmoil in the band. And actually, when they put out this album, they played Puerto Rico in 2003. So I saw them in concert for this album. Obviously, they played a lot of their hits, but I remember I saw them. It was awesome. But you know what? I think it was one of the Brian's last shows with them, and he was playing, but he looked like so disconnected from the rest of the band. At least that's what I got. So when he left, like I was like, oh, well, it sounds like because he was playing there, but there was no interaction between him and the rest of the band. And I know because I was like I was in the mosh pit, and I was like really close. So, but yeah, I do believe it's a dark horse because of like all the things that were going on, and I think it's a great Korn album that can stand with the classics.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So for me, I think now I don't know. So I don't know their two most recent albums. I haven't checked out Requiem and I haven't checked out The Nothing. I've got a list of their albums in front of me just to remember them all.
I would
I
also
also
like to shout out Jonathan Davis's solo album from 2018. That was really good.
Oh yeah.
I'll
Tom,
have to
stay
check that
away
out.
from Sausage Fingers record.
I also don't know their 2010 one, Remember Who You Are, which Hector mentioned. Probably worth giving that a miss anyway, by the sounds of it. And The Path of Totality, which we might do on Is It That Bad? So yeah, those are the ones I don't know, I think, on this list. So I mean, I'm a little bit like Hector with Life is Peachy. I think I do like the self-titled a lot, and I really love Follow the Leader. Um, I feel like Korn, the self-titled Follow the Leader, and Issues. I love Untouchables because that was my entry to Korn back in 2002. So yeah, I have good memories with Untouchables, so a little bit of sentimental value with that. I feel like a bit, maybe a little bit like Brady said, somewhere in the middle, but in the upper middle for me. So maybe this would be sixth or seventh, I think. Um, I do actually also like The Serenity of Suffering too. I do like that one. But yeah, I don't know their entire album. So I reckon this one would be about sixth or seventh for me. And I think it's a dark horse for lots of the reasons that have already been said, really. Um, Rocco mentioned earlier about that actually the band themselves, or at least Brian Welch and Jonathan Davis, don't actually like this album, which is kind of interesting. I think that almost makes it a little bit dark horse in a way. And the timing, as has already been mentioned, and just the fact that it did get a lot of quite negative reviews, and you look at the column that you always look at on Wikipedia where it gives you all the ratings and reviews. I mean, this one's got pretty negative reviews on there, and I think that it is kind of, like I said earlier, formulaic, but it's kind of just hooky, loud. It's great to just put on. If you're really angry, you're super kind of pissed off with something, then this is a great album to listen to, I think, because it's just kind of in your face and just loud, catchy, and fun. So yeah. All right, so we've done our 3 rounds, and what I always like to do is give the other channels a chance to kind of say what's coming up on each of your guys' channels, and I'll put links to the channels also in the description box. So if you're not already subbed to them all, make sure you go and sub to all these channels too. So yeah, Brady, what's coming up on your channel? Anything good for us to look forward to?
Yeah, so I'll just be doing album reviews for the most part. I finally caught up on my reviews, which is great because I was behind a little bit. And then this week I put out like 4 reviews all in a row, so I'm fully caught up now. I'm really excited for the new Thrice album that's dropping in a couple weeks. Thrice is like one of my favorite bands
Oh, they got a
ever.
new album. I didn't even realize that. I quite
Yeah,
like them. Yeah.
Horizons West. I'm really pumped for that. I'm gonna do a discography ranking for them, review that
Oh,
album. Um, Hector's shaking his head.
I love Fries. I
Oh
actually
yeah,
saw
okay.
the concert with a great band. Great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, I'm pumped for Thrice. One of my favorite albums of all time is their album Palms. I think that could be a good Dark Horse disc
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
If anyone,
Good
I'm
one.
not sure how familiar you guys all are with Thrice, but
Beyond
they're
the
I,
awesome.
I I've heard the
Brady,
name.
Brady, I will meet you there beyond the pines.
I fucking love that song, man.
That's a
That
great.
one and that one and My Soul, I think are like my two favorite Thrice songs. But
It's a good
yeah,
song.
no, I'm excited for that. Aside from that, I'm looking into a few extreme metal albums to review because I haven't been doing as much extreme metal on my channel lately just because of all the more mainstream releases that have been dropping. So I checked out this death metal record. That was pretty good. So I might review that. Aside from that, it just kind of, albums that are dropping. I'm gonna hopefully have reviews up in the days following. So so yeah, that's about it. Thank you for giving me the chance to promote a little bit.
No, so you're welcome, dude. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us for this one. Uh, so on to JC.
Yes, I have my weekly series where I do short reviews. I try to cover and all the new albums, like as much as I can get a chance to listen to. I mean, sometimes I can only listen to four. This week, I actually listened to a lot. There were 8 really good albums this weekend, so I do that every weekend. I try to do one standalone review of a new release on like either Friday or Saturday, and during the week, I'll try to do about like two like retro reviews of albums having anniversaries, and this is actually a pretty good month. I have one for Black Sabbath Paranoid, which I might post maybe tomorrow. I have one for Judas Priest Painkiller, which I'll probably do next, and Megadeth Rust in Peace has one this at some point this month, so I'll do that. So a lot of good anniversaries coming up. So that's really all that I do, and I have my second channel, which I just basically review random albums from my CD collection, or whether CD or vinyl, and that's called the JC Rock CD and vinyl channel. You can find that in my community page. I usually link the videos on my main channel. So that's basically all I have now. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, JC. Rocco.
Yeah, so I just put out, I mean, it's not out yet, but by the time this video is released, I will have just put out a video about Unto the Locust by Machine Head,
Oh,
and then I have an episode about the band Helmet.
yeah.
So yeah, those are, oh yeah, Hector's a fan. So yeah, well, th those are coming up or will have come out. I don't know when this video is going out, but yeah, I have a lot of stuff um, for like the rest of the year.
And we got presumably the groundswell as well.
Yes, yes. So Tom and I recorded a video together, and that's actually coming. I I have that scheduled for December. That's going to be one of the last videos of the year.
Oh, cool. Nice, nice. Um, all right. So Hector.
So obviously, I have the series "Isn't That Bad," which is like the evil cousin
Yeah,
to
it's the evil cousin of
Mhm.
this, isn't it? Yeah,
Dark Horse.
The Evil Twin. Yes.
evil twin.
It was born after this. It's like I remember when I said to Tom, it's good to praise albums, but how about we shit on albums? Because I saw a lot of YouTube pages and everyone's like essential, essential. And the idea came because I noticed every time I did a review where I said something sucked, like I got a lot of views. And it's still to this day.
Mm.
Uh, could you believe that my Icy Stars review has more views than Between the Buried and Me, which I praised the album? Praise? People didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always
I
the
A
see.
way.
lot of
Always.
channels I follow will say that, look, not even music channels, just like movie channels too. They'll say, "Oh, videos where I do like my top 10 worst movies of the year gets more views than my top 10 best movies of the year."
Mm.
It always happens. People love controversy.
Yeah.
So, and I have a ton of interviews. So there's a lot of interviews. I think there's more interviews on the channel than album reviews, and like there's a lot of interviews. I like interviewing bands. Sometimes I'll even forget who I interviewed because I interviewed so many people. But this week I had album reviews for the Nine Inch Nails. That review has done pretty well because I found it was interesting to talk about Nine Inch Nails. I prevailed. I'm thinking maybe of doing a Paradise Lost one, but JC did such a great review that I'm like, I should just share JC's review. But I'll talk about Stone Jesus. I don't know, but next, I know I'm gonna talk. The big one that I'm gonna talk about is Amorphis, which I got the promo, so that's gonna be one. And yeah, more isn't that bad. So that's what's coming up for me.
Great stuff. Yes, we've got an Is It That Bad that we're recording, of course, after this, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Won't say what it is in case it's meant to be like a secret. You don't want to reveal it yet. So it's a surprise. Although this is going up on Tuesday, so I don't know when the Is It That Bad's going up.
Oh no, that one's coming up like 3 weeks from today.
Oh, wow. All right.
Because I've recorded so much stuff that I have like there's a few Is It That Bads before that one premiere.
Oh, cool. Cool, man. All right, so on the Green Man, obviously more Dark Horse discs will be on the way. We've got a Smashing Pumpkins album that we're moving on to guest choices now. So we're gonna have Hector's next Smashing Pumpkins. We're gonna have Pat Benatar, right? Rocco's choice. I'm not gonna reveal the albums just yet. Maybe there'll be surprises for people. Then we're doing JC's choice, Kiss. Then I thought actually maybe we could do. I like that Thrice choice. I like that a lot. So maybe we should do that in follow up. But maybe it's the like because then we're getting. I think because we do these every 2 weeks, we might be getting towards the end of the year. So possibly like maybe a Meg. I was thinking a Megadeth one that Hector mentioned over email. That I also think is a good Dark Horse choice. So we might do that one. Maybe it's one of the last episodes. Yeah, yeah. Maybe that is the last episode, perhaps, of the year. And awesome, yeah. So yeah, otherwise, I've had a video which I've been planning forever that I still haven't done, and it's kind of ironic because the band's called After Forever. So maybe After Forever, I'll actually finally do that video for them. I don't actually. We haven't done a symphonic metal Dark Horse in this series yet, have we? And given that people watch my channel quite
that's a
often for
good
symphonic
point.
stuff, that's I probably need to throw one in somewhere.
Well, you already did a Lacuna Coil album ranking, so I don't know
Yeah.
if we should maybe do another band.
Well, I was thinking possibly Within Temptation,
Okay,
one
that's
of their
good.
records,
That's a
because quite a
good
few
idea.
people voted that one on a poll as well. So it wasn't top, I don't think. But yeah, quite a few people voted that one. So we could do the Within. I know Hector likes Within as well. I don't know where
I'll
Brady, where are you with symphonic metal? Do you like symphonic metal?
It's hit or miss for me. It's hit or miss. I will say that. If I do make an appearance on Dark Horse, I'll probably keep it to bands that I follow, I guess. So like
Yeah, yeah, that's fair
I'm not a
enough.
big Kiss
Yeah,
fan.
yeah,
But yeah, if it's a band I'm familiar with, if it's a band I follow, then yeah, I would totally love to come on. And it's some of my favorite albums, like I already mentioned Thrice, some of my favorite albums ever I would consider Dark Horses. Like my favorite album of all time by any band is AB3 by Alter Bridge.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which is
That's
like
a
a
really good one.
huge dark horse. Same with
yeah. That's
Kill Switch Engage Incarnate. That's another one. That's probably my second favorite album of all time. So I got a ton of ideas. So I mean, anytime you guys need
I've
a
seen Alter Bridge live, and
yeah.
Isolation is amazing live.
Yeah, I've seen them I think 4 times live, and one of the times they played "Words Darker Than Their Wings," which is
Ooh.
like that's like to me that's their best song, like one of my favorite songs of all time. So that was awesome to hear live, and yeah, that's a stupidly underrated record. So yeah,
I'll come to a symphonic metal episode only if the singer is hot, Tom.
I
maybe
don't think
maybe we
that'll be a
get.
problem.
I might have a job getting Sharon Denadel on to the Within Temptation one. I'm not sure we'll get her. Um, all right, so I guess we wrap things up then. And also on my other channel, the horror channel, Tom's Tomb of Horror, which is pretty new still. I've got the Nightmare on Elm Street ranking, which will have already gone up actually by the time this video airs. So that'll be on that channel by the time this one has gone up. So awesome. Thanks again to all my guests for joining me for this episode, giving up their time on this Sunday as we're recording this to do another Dark Horse episode. So until next time, thanks everybody, and bye for now.